Interesting. So what percentage of your revenue in the last 12 months has been driven by, I realize it's tough.
Yeah, no, I can answer this pretty good because I think it's pretty astounding. In 2018, and a little bit of just because of billing, but in fiscal year, but in 2018, essentially 10% product, 90% pro services.
Where do you want to drive that to?
This year we're going to do almost 40% product, 60% services with an overall lift on number. And so basically our services number of about 2 million hasn't changed, but we've added on basically it's going to be, last year we did like 150,000 in product. This year we'll do almost 1.5 million in product.
Wow. And are you actively developing the product, or what are your marginal costs to operate that product? Because I'm assuming the margins are, the incremental margins are much higher on the product because you don't have to go hire a new person every time you sell it.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the other thing that I think we've done a good thing is, like, I've been really big on, I want less money up front and I want reoccurring revenue.
Sure.
So the numbers that I'm throwing out on the monitoring platform, they buy a yearly
It's going to snowball. Yeah, it just snowballs over time.
Yeah, they buy a yearly license. I'm sorry. A yearly license.
That's great.
And so that's why we've grown that so big. We have a couple other product offerings. We've really sort of hunkered down on building things that integrate into ServiceNow. I think ServiceNow is one of the most interesting IT companies out there. The people that use ServiceNow are very loyal, dedicated, and it's expensive. Another interesting statistic, ServiceNow's minimum commitment from a customer per year is $50,000.
Wow.
So if you have a ServiceNow instance anywhere, whether it's a school or anybody, you know they've spent at least $50,000 a year just to have this thing exist.
So they're not allergic to writing checks.
You've got it. It's kind of the opposite. When I walk in the door and I see somebody with an asterisk or an open source phone system, I'm like, this is not going to go how I want it to go, right?
Sure. That's funny. How do you think about balancing products with services? I mean, do you have a dedicated development team, or do you just use bench capacity to kind of move the ball forward? Or
I think this is the thing that all services companies really struggle with. Like, most services companies that do any type of development have this dream of getting into product, but
sure,
at the end of the day, you have to have enough money to feed your team.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to pull in the right amount of investment on a services business because it doesn't often make sense because you can't really turn enough product to make it an interesting investment. For us, what we've done a really good job of doing over time has been making sure that we own the IP behind any work product that we deliver. And I think we've done a really good job.
Is that hard? Did most customers push back on that, or?
I don't think so. We do grant them always like a license that they can use it themselves. They do get the source code to modify themselves, right? They just aren't allowed to resell it in a fashion that would make them a product owner.
Interesting. And have you done that since day one, or was that something that you started?
Day one, when I started in 2014. And there was a couple reasons for this. There's nothing nefarious, but we see a lot of the same projects over and over.
Sure.
And, I think one of the ways to be, there's a couple ways to be valuable in a services business. One is to develop automation, which we're configuring things so you can automate. Most people don't, but there's a way, like a developer, I can't really automate a developer. You know what I mean? He's the automator.
Yeah.
So our business is a little bit different there. So we can find, a couple different ways to make money on people.
It's really interesting. Yesterday I haven't published it yet, but I recorded a podcast with a longtime friend of mine who owns a services company, and they went all in on Appian. Are you familiar with Appian?
Mm-mm.
So Appian is a product platform. They just IPO'd last year. I don't remember what year they started, but it was a pretty massive success story. And it's a business process management / low code tool. But Austin, my guest, he was there in the very early days when it was a startup, and before he went out on his own servicing their product. And he told the story, Appian started out as a consulting company, and at first they thought they were going to they built the portal, they owned the IP, they thought that was going to be the product. They hired him to then build a business process management engine for it, and that became the product. And they viewed the consulting as in lieu of going to to outside investment. So I'm with you. It's really hard. I don't think I think in my mind I always thought we would do that with Level, but we never really got to a point where we were doing that. It's like you said, you've got a lot of mouths to feed, but it is interesting that somebody can do that and create what is now one of the most popular, well-known pieces of enterprise software. It was fascinating to me to hear that story. So hopefully one of your products turns into the thing that takes you to an IPO.
Yeah.